Holy crap, the Quest Pro just got a massive update. Version 51 just launched on the public test channel for Quest Pro and the PC Oculus application, and it adds in local dimming for all PC VR. Now, if you know what that is, you know just how big of a deal it really is. It's truly going to revolutionize playing PC VR on the Quest Pro. Later in this video, I'll show you how to get this working, but first, let's jump to the PC and take a look at some examples and see why local dimming is such a big deal. Okay, so first off, let's take a look at some footage that I captured through the lens on my Quest Pro. This is in Bone Lab. It's a Modern Warfare 2 mod, super dark and some lighter areas. Thought I'd make a good example for local dimming. What you're gonna see here is you're gonna see the screen go from lighter to darker. Now, it's not super easy to capture this. You can't actually record it on a PC and capture it because it's not changing the way the image looks at all. It's only changing what you're seeing in the headset. So it's essentially changing what the panels are doing inside of the headset, nothing to do with the output from your PC to your Quest Pro. But you can see that it goes from a more grayish black in these scenes to a deeper, darker black. What local dimming is doing is it's dimming those sections where there's less light and keeping the sections that are brighter with actual light brighter. Now, I wanted to get more footage than this. I really wanted to capture some other stuff. In fact, I was working on capturing some Half-Life Alyx stuff because this does work in Steam as well. But I'm an idiot and a head crab jumped at me, so I flailed my arm around, knocked my camera off of my desk, and obliterated my lens. So needless to say, I went to Reddit to grab these images you're seeing now, and we'll talk about the blacks in these images instead. Special thank you to F3 Hunter on Reddit for posting these. You've become a lifesaver for me. Let's start off with this Valve logo. This is probably one of the most impressive pieces that I've seen. Now, keep in mind, this is through the lens. That's why you're seeing the pattern on the Valve logo itself and on the valve. Look how dark and deep the blacks are. Now, you can't take into account the settings for the camera because we don't know exactly what camera was used. We don't even know what the settings were, but this is darn impressive how deep and dark those blacks are. Even in something like The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Retribution, you're seeing the darker blacks and the lighter sections have much more contrast. And that's the key to local dimming, is the contrast. If you really want to see the difference and you have a Quest Pro, and I'll show you actually how to enable this in a little bit, you can switch it on and off on your desktop while you're looking at it so that you can really see the difference. Trust me, it's a bigger difference than you think it is. Before we move on, there's actually a couple of native Quest games that do use local dimming that work really well on the Quest Pro native, and those are Red Matter 2 and the Light Brigade. The Light Brigade looks fantastic with local dimming on Quest Pro native, and because they look so great, I'm really hoping that they're gonna release a system-wide hardware option to turn local dimming on for everywhere in the Quest Pro. It's been hinted at, and now that we've got a full-on PC VR version of that, hopefully that'll come in a future update. But back to these images here. This image of Lone Echo 2 is a really good illustration because you can see the top dark blacks of space contrast really well with the light of the control panels and the light shining on the rings of Saturn and Saturn itself. It's a really good contrast between the two. The same with this image here, although this is Walkabout Mini Golf, I believe. Even though it is still Saturn, you can see the planet of Saturn up there and some asteroids. The asteroid down here at the bottom, you can see, is kind of bright, and then around it, it just envelopes into darkness, in a deeper darkness. And that's really the way it should be. When you're looking at it from inside the headset and it doesn't have local dimming on, it is obviously black. I say that in quotations, but it's more of a grayish black. If you've ever used Quest 2 and then jumped to Quest 1, you know what I mean. Now, this is not a replacement for OLED because OLED is always going to be deeper, darker blacks. I personally like these racing pictures the best. This is from Project Cars 2. Look at those deep blacks of the sky and the buildings and everything in darkness, and then you see the lights on the track lighting it up. It's a little hard to see in this image. Let's switch to a different one. There we go. I really like this one. You can really see the difference between the night and the light in this image here, and then this one here as well. I just have to say I love the reflection of the lights on the ground. Here's another racing image. Look at the light on the left side of the screen from the lights, and then the dark on the right side of the screen with the really deep blacks. The contrast and separation is very obvious. And I know that I keep saying this, and it's probably beating a dead horse. I don't really know why that's a saying, to be totally honest, but I love that contrast between the deeper blacks and the lighter colors. One thing people are going to mention, and it does exist, is bloom. And that is like the almost glow or white light around certain things. I'm not sure what causes it from a technology standpoint, but that is a sort of negative when it comes to these OLCD or whatever they're called and local dimming. You are going to get some of that, but from my experience testing it out in a few different games today, it's there, but it's not that bad. Now this is one of my favorite images of the whole bunch from Half-Life Alyx, and it really shows the illustration between the bright light shining in the background and those dark shadows. You can see a more pronounced edge between the two, which surprisingly helps a lot more with immersion. I was actually very surprised at how much better I enjoyed playing the Light Brigade when that local dimming came into effect, native on Quest Pro. You can literally see the grays turn to black when it enables it inside of the headset when you're using Quest Pro. It's almost jarring how much of a difference that there is. I wish that there was an easier way to show you on a screen how it looks, because you're literally looking at a black screen that ends up looking more like a deep gray when the local dimming turns on, because it literally turns to an inky deep black. I'm not really sure how else to describe it besides that. And then the last image I'll show you here is another image from space. Lots of dark areas in this, and you can just see that stuff disappears into the black. The reality is that playing on Quest 2 or even Quest Pro in horror games for me has been easier than on Quest 1 because of the lack of blacks. So like if I'm playing in a horror game, yes, sometimes you can't see stuff or it's dark, but it's not pitch black dark, if you know what I mean. It's there so you can see like the darkness, but you can almost see in the dark in some ways depending on what environment you're in, because the blacks aren't true black. When you go back to the Quest 1, even though it's a lower resolution, those blacks are black. And I played some games on that even though they weren't amazing visually, scared the crap out of me just because of the darkness. Now with local dimming on Quest Pro, this helps a lot in those dark environments, makes things a lot more scary, and having jumped into Cosmo Dread on PC VR with local dimming enabled, let me tell you, I think I could probably crap myself or have a heart attack or both at the same time if I play that game long enough. There you go. There's some examples of local dimming on the Quest Pro. To get this working, all you gotta do is jump into your Quest application and join the public test channel as long as it's available. Sometimes they shut it down, so jump in quickly and turn it on. All you gotta do is go into your app, find your Quest Pro, go into the settings and advanced settings, and then turn on the public test channel. Then go onto your PC, go to the Oculus software, go into the beta tab, and make sure that the public test channel is enabled there as well. That's it. Then you just gotta make sure you update it when it says there's an update. It might take a little bit to actually have the update push to your device or to your PC, but once it's there, reset both of your devices and it'll automatically work. You don't have to do anything or enable anything. What do you think though? Is local dimming as big of a deal as I think it is? I personally love it. I love seeing the turn on of that local dimming go from that gray black to the deep black inside of the headset. It's just, it's something awesome to see. But let me know down below what you think of it and if you think it's actually a big deal. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and happy questing.